In this video, I'll demonstrate how to use the sample labeling feature of MyAssays desktop on the data contained in your raw and calculated matrices, as well as field data. I've created a protocol that contains measurement and field data, and I've calculated those results. We can see on the report the sample ID column, the gender column, which is our field data, measurement data, and our calculated data columns. In this case, blank corrected, concentration, and %CV. If I'd like to highlight certain aspects of my data, I can easily do so using this sample labeling feature. This feature can be accessed by opening our Properties control and viewing the Matrices tab. I can select the matrix from the tree on the left-hand side of the screen. This will open the matrix-specific settings options. These options will allow you to specify the name of the matrix, the numerical formatting, the report content formatting, value bars settings, and the setting we're interested in, sample labels. If I click this drop-down box, I can add a condition that will apply the specified formatting to any results that match that condition. Let's say I'd like to be alerted to any raw measurements that are negative. So once I've clicked Add, I can add the condition as x is less than 0. The label column is where I'll enter the text or value that I want to appear on the report. As you can see in this blurb at the bottom of the box, you can use x surrounded by curly brackets to refer to the original value. I'd like to use that here. I'll add a fail symbol to let the operator know that this sample should likely be repeated. I can also add a highlight to the cell or change the color of the text. Next, I'd like to add sample labels to a couple of my calculated matrices. Let's start with concentration. For this assay, I'd like to be able to easily identify samples with concentrations less than 10 and greater than 300. I'll add two separate sample labels for these scenarios because I want them to be labeled differently. However, if I wanted to use the same label, I could use a Boolean condition to evaluate in terms of x. For example, I could say, or x is less than 10 and x is greater than 300 to satisfy my requirements, but you'll notice I only have the opportunity to add a single label in that case. So instead, I'll use the first condition as x is less than 10, and the label will be x surrounded by curly brackets is less than 10. So I can see the original value. I'd also like to highlight the cell yellow. If I click the More button, I can define which samples to apply this rule to, and I can choose to highlight the whole row. I only want to apply this rule to unknowns, so I'll deselect my sample types other than unknowns. The next condition will be x is greater than 300. The label will be the curly bracket around x is greater than 300. So again, I can see the original value. I'll again highlight the cell yellow and click More to deselect all sample types but unknowns. I'd also like to add a sample label to the %CV matrix to highlight my results that are greater than 25%. The condition will be x is greater than 25. The label will be x in curly brackets is greater than 25. I'd like to add a fail symbol and change the text color to red. And lastly, I'd like to add a label to my field data matrix to highlight the male results. For more information regarding how to add field data to your protocol, please see the associated video. I'll set this condition to match male. The label can be male, and I'll highlight these blue. Now let's recalculate our data to see how the report has changed. On our report, you can see that we've highlighted our male field data in blue. The samples with %CVs higher than 25 are listed in red text with an X beside the result, and concentrations less than 10 and greater than 300 are highlighted in yellow. By using the sample labeling feature, now we can easily identify samples that match the criteria we defined in the settings of each of the matrices. If you have any questions regarding sample labeling, please email us at support@myassays.com.